Hi Vinyl community, John here. This is going to be part 7 of my hard rock and heavy metal record series. Such a beautiful day, 10 to 6 in the afternoon, so I thought I'd do my first video of the year outside. On a wobbly table, or you're on a wobbly part of the table, so hold tight. Okay, so now we're going to look through the L section. There's a bit of a dilemma that comes up a little bit later on, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So this is Lawnmower Death. Lawnmower Death were a British thrash band with a name like that and a cover like that. You can imagine that they employ a lot of humour. It's not particularly brilliant. British thrash was really quite poor at the time. There's the lyrics sheet. I think there was some relationship between these and the other band. What was that? I showed the other British thrash band. I can't remember what they were called now, but I think there was some relationship between those two bands. I wasn't going to include Dave Lee Roth, but I changed my mind because he is hard rock of sorts. This is his first album. I think he did this at the same time as being in Van Halen. I could be wrong, but anyway, it's got Steve Vai playing guitar on it. Nice looking record. Very much of its time. Got a custom label. Yeah, well, I remember when I was getting these, I was very much into Van Halen. I bought this on cassette before I left home. I can remember distinctly playing it in the car. It's another custom label. I like this record. I haven't played it for years. I don't know if I like it anymore, but it was really good at its time. Steve Vai has some amazing guitar work on it. I read here that he actually co-produced the album too. This is an EP. I keep it in with the records and the albums rather than amongst the 12 inches because I guess I'm more likely to play it if it's in amongst the albums. It's got tracks on here that you don't appear on the other records. I think it hasn't got a custom label now. It's on Warner Brothers. And then this is the last one of his that I have in my collection. It's one of those rare records that well, it's not a rare record, but it's a rare record for me, and it's one that I bought from the shop when it came out, when it was released in '91. So yeah, my head was very deep into Van Halen at the time. And this came on the market, and I remember I was learning about Van Halen. I hadn't made this distinction that there were two separate singers, and somebody said to me, "Oh, yeah, Dave Lee Roth." I said, "He sings in Van Halen." Not anymore, he doesn't, but he's got a new album coming out. I hadn't made the distinction between Dave Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar singing in Van Halen, so I was kind of learning that around about this time when this came out. I felt this was actually quite disappointing. Not a particularly brilliant record. One or two tracks on it, but I kind of expected more from it when it came out. There you go. Now here comes my dilemma. This record is by Legs Diamond. The dilemma is this, on my last heavy metal hard rock video, one of my subscribers asked about Kiss, because I didn't show any Kiss, and it was K. And I do have a few Kiss records, but I didn't show them because, in my mind, they're not kind of grouped together with this hard rock heavy metal stuff. Of course, they are a hard rock band, but I haven't put them on that sort of hard rock heavy metal shelf, which I probably should do. But then, well, where do you draw the line? You know, I haven't put Led Zeppelin there. Maybe I should do, but I don't want to. You could argue that Black Sabbath should be there under the heavy metal banner, but they're not on my shelves anyway. And you wonder, well, yeah, I mean, I showed Judas Priest last week, but what about Thin Lizzy? Should I show them? Well, maybe I should. I don't know. And I feel this is one of those records that sort of falls somewhere on that dividing line. It came out in 1976, and I wasn't going to show it. The name Legs Diamond, apparently, I just learned this recently, is the name of a gangster. There was a gangster called Legs Diamond. So I think that's where they've got the idea of the Tommy gun motif with the guitar. I wasn't going to include it, but then I read up a little bit about it, and apparently, this is the lyric sheet, apparently Kerrang! Magazine, the British heavy metal and hard rock magazine, listed this once as being amongst the top 300 heavy metal records of all time. I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but I would say this, that it does sound very metal. It's kind of slightly ahead of its time, I think. You know, it sounds more metal than many other bands did at the time, even the hard rock ones. There's a kind of metallic edge to their guitar sound, I think. Anyway, so that's the dilemma. We'll see if I show. I think what I'll do is I'll show you later at the end of the series some that I didn't include, like, well, I hadn't shown Kiss, I hadn't shown AC/DC either. I'm sure there's a few others that will get to the end and I'll think, well, maybe I should have included those too, but didn't. Next up is Loudness. Loudness were I think they're still going. They've got loads of albums. I've only got 2 of theirs. They were the first Japanese band who signed in America to a major label, Music for Nations. This one of theirs is particularly good. I really liked this when it came out. Aeroplane just taking off from Cardiff Airport. Yeah, this is one's got quite a good sort of big, broad sound to the production, and the songs are quite good. You know, I recommend that one. And this is the last one that I've got that I'm going to show under L today, and that is Little Angels. I showed an EP by them in the first one of this heavy metal hard rock series, and I can't say they're really not really a band that I waste a lot of time on. I promise you, it's very, very light stuff, very commercial. And one of these guys, which one? Him, I think he was the one that was at school when they were technically still a band. They broke up in the 90s, I think, the early 90s, and I think they've got back together again, you know, like bands do. They're probably still under 25, all of them, even though they broke up and got back together again. But yeah, so this came out in, when did this come out? 89. It's the second album. Yeah, I mean, I think they were aimed at you know, the Bon Jovi, the Europe market, and they had some success. They got a lot of coverage in the press, I remember at the time, but they weren't very good, which is why I don't think they lasted very long. Okay, so that's my section L. There's a lot of records in M, so I might have to split that up over 2 or 3 videos. But otherwise, thanks very much for watching. Watch out for my next video. Cheers, bye.